welcome to the Murder House Radio Show. I'm your host, X. On this show, we will be covering serial killers, mass shooters, disappearances, true crime, and the most deplorable things and people in history. All that good, dark stuff. The Murder House Radio Show will be a radio show / podcast. I will be uploading videos every Friday at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Once you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification and select all to get all notifications if you are viewing on YouTube. And hit follow if you're listening on a podcasting platform. So sit down, get comfortable, grab some coffee or whatever your preferred beverage is, turn off the lights, and enjoy the show. Hey guys, how's your week going, and how's your Friday going? I hope it's going good. When I'm recording this, mine's going good as well. So, just checking in on you guys. Leave how you are down in the comments and all that good stuff. And let's get into today's video. Today's video is on Charles Manson. We all know who he is for the most part. His full name is Charles Miles Manson, and he was born November 12th, 1934, and died November 19th, 2017. I remember hearing about him dying, and it's crazy. Born and died in November, and as I said in multiple podcast episodes, it's crazy how all these infamous figures are set to be born in November and or died in November. So Charles Manson is a cult leader, as you all may or may not know. And in mid 1967, he formed what was to become known, as the Manson family, a commune based in California. His followers committed a series of 9 murders at 4 locations in July and August of 1969. And yes, the motive for the murders was disputed by Manson, and Los Angeles County District Attorney believed that Manson intended to start a race war. We will get into that later. It's an interesting topic, though. In 1971, he was convicted on first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder for the deaths of 7 people, including the film actress Sharon Tate. Yes, she was pregnant, and that was one of the more gruesome murders that they committed. The prosecution contended that while Manson never directly ordered the murders, his ideology constituted an overt act of conspiracy. Well, I mean, he never did the murders and he never ordered the murders, so my guy technically did nothing wrong. That's just like, I guess some extremists in religion could be blamed for this or whatever. Like, the priest or preacher or whatever could be preaching, oh, blah, 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 all these people deserve to die or whatever. He never said to go do it, and if one of their, members goes and kills those people he was preaching deserve to die, he never ordered that dude to go do it. He just kinda did it. So that's what happened here, kinda. I don't know if that made sense, but let's get on with this. Before the murders, Manson had spent more than half his life in correctional facilities. When he began gathering his cult following, he was a singer and songwriter on the fringe of Los Angeles music industry. So they basically just said that he was a underground music artist, basically. And through a chance associated with Dennis Wilson of Beach Boys, who introduced Manson to recording producer Terry Melcher. Okay. In 1968, the Beach Boys recorded Manson's song Cease to Exist, retitled Never Learn Not to Love, as the B-side on one of their singles, so they stole his song. Imagine if he got off with the music stuff, his whole life could have taken a different direction if you think about it. But without a credit to Manson, Wilson and Melcher severed ties with Manson around early 1969. So they did him dirty. They stole his song. So I guess if you want to say everything that happened with Manson and the Manson family is technically Wilson and Melcher's fault, if you want to get technical about it. Because if they didn't steal his song, who knows what would have happened with his music career. Sorry for the background noise if you can hear it. It's just my furnace, because my furnace is also in the room. I live in the basement or whatever. And also, the links for the sources will be in the description below, so go check those out. But yes, Los Angeles District Attorney said that Manson was obsessed with the Beatles, particularly their 1968 self-titled album. Manson had claimed to be guided by his interpretation of the Beatles' lyrics and adopted the term helter-skelter to describe an impending apocalyptic race war. Yes. At trial, the prosecution submitted that Manson and his followers believed that the murders would help predicate that war. So the murders would help pop that war off, is basically what they just said. Other contemporary interviews and those who testified during the Manson's trial insisted that Tate LaBlanche murders were copycat crimes designed to exonerate Manson's friend Bobby Balassier. Okay. But yes, music has an impact on people. Most people just think of music as, hey, that's pretty cool to listen to, and others take it more seriously, I guess you could say. And that goes for any type of music, because crazy shit happens that is influenced by all types of music. But Manson's notoriety as an emblem of insanity, violence, and macabre has also influenced pop culture, yes. Recordings of songs written and performed by Manson were released commercially, starting with Lie, the Love and Terror Cult, 1970. Okay. Various musicians have covered some of his songs. What songs? Although originally sentenced to death, his sentence was commuted to life with the possibility of parole after California Supreme Court invalidated the state's death penalty statute in 1972. He served his life sentence in California State Prison Corcoran and died at age 83 in late 2017. Yes, he shouldn't have been free per se, because I would admit he had some influence over the murders, but he never ordered them, and he never said for anybody to do them. But there again, I'm not 100% sure, but the death penalty shouldn't have been on the table, in my opinion, for this case anyway. But yes. Well, for Manson anyway, but the ones who committed the murders, that's a different story. So I see here one of his albums, Lie, the Love and Terror Cult, Cease to Exist, Look at Your Game Girl, I'll Never Say Never to Always, Home is Where You're Happy, Garbage Dump, People Say I'm No Good, and Sick City. So those are some of the songs he wrote, and that was one of his albums. But yeah, so let's get into his early life and childhood. So, Manson was born, like I said, to 16-year-old Kathleen Manson Boer Carpenter, and Nee Maddox in the University of Cincinnati Academic Health Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. Okay. He was first named no name Maddox. Okay, within weeks, he was called Charles Miles Maddox. Manson's biological father appeared to have been Colin Walker Henderson Scott Sr. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Manson may have never known his biological father. Okay, so it's speculated. So that's who they thought his father was, but they're not too sure, is what I'm gathering. Scott worked intermittently in local mills and also had a local reputation as a con artist. He allowed Maddox to believe that he was an army colonel, although colonel was merely his given name. Okay. When Maddox told Scott that she was pregnant, he told her he had been called away on army business. After several months, she realized he had no intentions of coming back. Oof. He dipped right quick. On August 1933, before Manson's birth, Maddox married William Aaron Manson, okay, a laborer at a dry cleaning business, okay. Maddox often went on drinking sprees with her brother Luther, leaving Charles with multiple babysitters. At least she wasn't drinking that we know of while Manson was in the stomach. That wouldn't be good. They divorced on April 30th, 1937, after William alleged gross negligence of duty by Maddox. Okay. Charles retained William's last name, Manson. Yes. So if your parents got divorced or whatnot, like, that's still your dad, but it also depends if you know your dad or not. Like, if you barely knew your dad and he dipped when you were like 1, would you take your stepdad's name or would you want to keep your biological father's name? Leave that in the comments. On August 1st, 1939, Luther and Kathleen Maddox were arrested for assault and robbery. Oof. Kathleen and Luther were sentenced to 5 and 10 years in prison, respectively. Oof. I had forgot what I was gonna say. Hold on. What if your mom remarries to like a stepdad or whatever, and she changes her name to his last name? Would your name change to his last name, or would your name still be your biological father's last name if that was your last name to begin with? Leave that in the comments. What do you think? But yes, Manson was placed in a home of an aunt and uncle in West Virginia. Alright, his mother was paroled in 1942. Manson later characterized the first weeks after she returned from prison as the happiest time in his life. Aww. Weeks after Maddox's release, Manson's family moved to Charleston, West Virginia, where Manson continually played Turrent, and his mother spent her evenings drinking. Oof. She was arrested for grand larceny, so that's like theft, but she wasn't convicted. Okay. The family later moved to Indianapolis, where Maddox met an alcoholic named Lewis, not first name. Okay, although Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, okay. So she met him through Alcoholic Anonymous meetings. So that means she may have been trying to get better. And then she married him in August 1943. Word. So in an interview, Manson said he set his school on fire when he was 9 years old. And he also got in trouble for truancy and petty theft. So at 9, I'm guessing. Although there were a lack of foster home placements in 1947, at the age of 13, Manson was placed in Gibbolet School for Boys in Terre Haute, Indiana, a school for male delinquents run by the Catholic priests. Oof. This was a strict school where punishment for even the tiniest infraction included beatings with either a wooden paddle or leather strap. Ooh, damn. Manson ran away from the school and slept in the woods, under bridges, and wherever he could find shelter. Manson fled home to his mother and spent the Christmas in 1947 at his aunt and uncle's house. His mother returned him to the school, and 10 months later he ran away to Indianapolis. In 1948 in Indianapolis, Manson committed his first known crime by robbing a grocery store. Okay. At first, the robbery was simply to find something to eat. However, Manson found a cigar box containing just over $100, and he took the money. That's a lot of money back then. He used the money to rent a room in Indianapolis Skid Row and buy food. I wonder how long $100 would get you back then, like how far it would get you. But Manson tried to straighten out by getting a job delivering messages for Western Union. However, he quickly began to supplement his wages through petty theft. Word. He was eventually caught, and in 1949, a sympathetic judge sentenced him to Boys Town. So Boys Town, formerly Girls in Boys Town, and Father Flanagan's Boys Home, is a non-profit organization dedicated to caring for its children. Okay, so it's in Nebraska, but it's a juvenile facility in Omaha, Nebraska. Word. After 4 days at Boys Town, he and fellow student Blackie Nielsen obtained a gun and stole a car. Ooh. They used it to commit 2 armed robberies on their way to the home of Nielsen's uncle in Illinois. Okay, that's a mighty distance, I think. Nielsen's uncle was a professional thief, and when the boys arrived, he allegedly took them on as apprentice, like apprentice thieves. Holy, okay. It's got that professional thief training. Manson was arrested 2 weeks later during a nighttime raid on a store. Okay. In the investigation, he was linked to his 2 earlier armed robberies. He was sent to the Indiana Boys School, a strict reform school. Okay. And then at the school, other students allegedly raped Manson with the encouragement of staff members. And that's sadly all too common in those types of places, which is fucked up and sad. And he was repeatedly beaten. He ran away from the school 8 times. While at the school, Manson developed a self-defense technique he later called the insane game. Oh, that makes sense for his trial, maybe. When he was physically unable to defend himself, he would screech, grimace, and wave his arms to conceive aggressors that he was insane. After a number of failed attempts, he escaped with 2 other boys in February 1951. The 3 escapees were robbing filling stations while attempting to drive to California in stolen cars when they were arrested in Utah. Okay. They were arrested for a federal crime of driving a stolen car across state lines. Yes. Anything to involve multiple states would be a felony. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Manson was sent to Washington, D.C.'s National Training School for Boys. On arrival, he was given an aptitude test which determined he was illiterate, but had an above average IQ of 109. Okay. His caseworker deemed him aggressively antisocial. Interesting stuff. Manson was imprisoned 2 times. The first time, he was imprisoned for raping a boy at knife point. God damn. Manson was transferred to the Federal Reformatory in Pittsburgh, Virginia. There he committed a further 8 serious disciplinary offenses, 3 involving homosexual acts. He was then moved to maximum security reformatory at Chillicothe, Ohio. Chillicothe, where he was expected to remain until his release on his 21st birthday in November 1955. Good behavior led to an early release in May 1954 to live with his aunt and uncle. Okay, so that's fucking wild. Holy shit. In 1955, Manson married a hospital waitress named Jocelyn Jane Willis. And around October, about 3 months after he and his pregnant wife arrived in Los Angeles in a car he had stolen in Ohio, Manson was again charged with the federal crime of taking the vehicle across state lines after a psychiatric evaluation. He was given 5 years probation. Manson's failure to appear at Los Angeles' hearing on an identical charge filed in Florida resulted in his March 1956 arrest in Indianapolis. His probation was revoked and he was sentenced to 3 years in jail. Okay. Yeah. While Manson was in prison, Rosalind gave birth to their son, Charles Manson Jr. So he has one kid so far that we know of. During his first year at prison, Manson received visits from his wife and his mother, who were now living together in Los Angeles. Word. In March 1957, when the visits from his wife ceased, his mother informed him that she was living with another man. Oof. Jody. Less than 2 weeks before a scheduled parole hearing, Manson tried to escape by stealing a car. He was given 5 years probation and his parole was denied. Oof, that's a shitty thing to do. The wife cheating on him. Holy. So Manson received 5 years parole in September 1958, and that was the same year Jocelyn received a decree of divorce. So she divorced him, and by November, Manson was pimping a 16-year-old girl and was receiving additional support from a girl with wealthy parents. So this is how his cult started. He started as a pimp and turned it into a cult. Holy. In September 1959, he pled guilty to a charge of attempting to cash a forged check, which he claimed to have stolen from a mailbox. The later charge was later dropped. He received 10 years suspended sentence and probation after a young woman named Loanne had an arrest record for prostitution. Made a tearful plea before the court that she and Manson were deeply in love. And would marry if Charlie were freed. Before the year's end, the woman did marry Manson, possibly so she would not be required to testify against him. Interesting stuff. So Charles Manson was a literal pimp. Manson took Loanne and another woman to New Mexico for promises of prostitution, resulting in him being held and questioned for violating the Mann Act. MANN Act. The White Slave Traffic Act. The White Slave Traffic Act, also known as the Mann Act, is a U.S. federal law passed June 25th, 1910. It is named after Congressman. It's named after Congressman James Robert Manning of Illinois. In its original form, the act meant it is a felony to engage in intrastate or foreign commissary transportation of any woman or girl for the purpose of prostitution or debauchery for any other immoral purpose. Fair enough. Fair enough, man. That's what the Mann Act is, man. Where did I leave off? off. Okay, hold on. I'll be right back, boys. So he was released for whatever reason, but he suspected that the investigation had not ended. When he disappeared in violation of his probation, a bench warrant was issued. Okay. And a bench warrant is an arrest warrant is a an arrest warrant is a warrant issued by a judge or magistrate on behalf of the state which is authorized the arrest and detention of an individual or the search and seizure. Okay, word. An indictment for violation of the Mann Act allowed in April 1960. Okay, following the arrest of one of the women of the prostitution, Manson was arrested in June in Texas and was returned to Los Angeles. For violating his probation on the check cashing charge, he was ordered to serve his 10-year sentence. Oof. Manson spent a year trying to unsuccessfully appeal his probation or whatnot, and in 1961 he was transferred from the Los Angeles County Jail to the United States Penitentiary of McNeil Island, Washington. There he took guitar lessons from Barker Carpison prison gang leader. Barker Carpison gang leader Elvin Creepy Carpus. And obtained from another inmate a contact name of someone at the Universal Studio in Hollywood, Phil Gaffalman. According to Jeff Goonin's 2013 biography of Manson, his mother moved to Washington State to be closer to him during his McNeil Island incarceration, working nearby as a waitress. Okay. Although the Mann Act charge had been dropped, the attempted false cash check or whatever is still a federal offense. Manson's September 1961 annual reveal noted that he had a tremendous drive to call attention to himself, and observation echoed in 1964 and 1963. Leon was granted a divorce. Okay. During the process, she alleged she and Manson had a son, Charles Luther. According to a popular urban legend, Manson's auditioned unsuccessfully for the Monkees in late 1965. This is refuted by the fact that Manson was still incarcerated. Word. In June 1966, Manson was sent for the second time to Terminal Island in preparation for early release. By the time of his release day on March 21st, 1967, he had spent more than half of his 32 years in prison and other institutions. This was mainly because he had broken federal laws. Federal sentences were and remain much more severe than state sentences for many of the same offenses. Yes. When you serve a federal sentence, from what I know, in America, keep in mind I'm not American, but I've heard, say you get 15 years federal time, that means you are doing all of that 15 years. You are not getting out for 15 years. But unlike state, you can get out early, I am pretty sure. But yes, telling the authorities that prison had become his home, he requested permission to stay. That's like Ricky from Trailer Park Boys. You're not letting me out of fucking jail. I want to play in the hockey tournament, you fucking pricks. But yeah. Fuck, if you watch Trailer Park Boys, you're pretty awesome. That's a good show. It's a really good fucking show. Alright, let's get into his cult, the murders, and the trial, what you have all been waiting for. And this took place from 1968 to 1971. So, the cult formation. After being discharged from prison in 1967, Manson began attracting a group of followers, mostly young women from around California. Hippie vibes, man. They were later known as the Manson family. The core members of the Manson group follows Charles Tex Watson, Charles Tex Watson, a musician and former actor, Robert Boulossier, a former musician and pornographic actor, Mary Berner, was a member of the Manson family who was presented during the She was present during the murder of Gary Allen Heineman. Okay. And she was previously a libertarian. Okay. And Suzanne Atkins and Linda Casbinian and Patricia Kirkowilling-Keel. I fucking butchered that. And Leslie Van Houten. Okay, so those were the main members. And yeah, they just go chill in the fucking desert and do a bunch of drugs on their property, LSD. And yeah, he would fucking tell them all what to do and stuff. He'd tell them what to do, but it was their choice not to do it or whatever, but they did it anyway because they liked the guy that much. But yeah, he would control them. He'd be like, all your possessions are for me and the group or whatever, so he'd take everybody's possessions and stuff, all that stuff, even to go as far as to take their glasses if they needed them. And he's like, yeah, that's the way the world is meant to be seen. You don't need these glasses or whatever. This is just how it has to be, kind of deal. And yeah, that's just how he would control them and stuff. But yeah, they'd just be all up in the desert, and he would be stewing in his craziness, and everybody else would follow suit. So, the group consisted of about 50 followers who lived an unconventional lifestyle with habitual use of hallucinogenic drugs such as LSD. Yes, so at its highest point, there was about 50-ish members. But yes, so they just chill in the fucking desert doing drugs. And then here are the murders. The Manson family developed into a doomsday cult when Manson became fixated on the idea of the imminent apocalyptic race war between America's black population and the larger white population. A white supremacist, Manson also believed that the black people in America would rise up and kill all the whites except for Manson and his family, but that they were not intelligent enough to survive on their own. They would need a white man to lead them, and so they would serve Manson as their master. In late 1968, Manson adopted the term helter skelter, taken from a song on the Beatles' recently released White Album, to refer to his upcoming war. So that's basically the gist of why they started killing and where helter skelter came from. Then it says here, in early August 1969, Manson encouraged his followers to start Helter Skelter by committing murders in Los Angeles and making it appear to be racially motivated. And the Manson family gained national notoriety after the murder of actress Sharon Tate and 4 others in her home on August 8th and 9th, 1969. Were these the first murders? Hold on. And Leno and Rosemary Labance the next day. Okay, so Sharon Tate and 4 others at her home, and the next day, Leno and Rosemary Labance the next day. Word. I want to see what his first murders were. Hold on. I'll get that information right now. The first victim of the Manson family was 18-year-old Stephen Parent, who was the first of the Manson family's victims. He was leaving Tate in the Tate residence house when he was met by Charles Tex Watson, who shot him to death. So that was the first murder, followed by the Tates. Okay. Fair enough. Tex Watson and 3 other members of the family executed Tate LeBlanc murders, allegedly acting under Manson's instructions. While it was later accepted at trial that Manson never expressed order he never ordered the murders. His behavior was deemed to warrant conviction of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. That makes no fucking sense. Because, like, if you didn't directly say to murder them, you can always just be like, hey, I never said to do it, but they fucking did it anyway, so, you know. So, yes. Yeah, whatever. But, evidence pointed to Manson's obsession with an inciting a race war by killing those he thought were pigs, and his belief that this would shown the N-word how to do the same. Holy. Family members were also responsible for other assaults, thefts, crimes, and the attempted assassination of President Ronald Ford, Gerald Ford, okay, in Sacramento by Lenetti Squeaky Formy. Okay, fair. Well, it is often thought that the Mansons never murdered or attempted to murder anyone himself. Well, Manson never attempted to murder anyone himself. True crime writer James Buddy Day, in his book Hippie Cult Leader, The Last Words of Charles Manson, claimed that Manson shot drug dealer Bernard Croward on July 1st, 1969, but he survived. Also, I think I saw this in a movie that was about Charles Manson, and he may or may not have lopped off some dude's ear with a samurai sword. But yes, the murders themselves are particularly brutal, and we will get into those right now. So we have the Tate LeBlanc murders in 1969, which were perpetrated by members of the Manson family in Los Angeles, California, under the direction of its leader, Charles Manson, which has been refuted, but you know, whatever. They murdered 5 people, including actor Sharon Tate and several of her guests, and Sharon Tate was pregnant at the time, in which the baby in her stomach was counted as a murder. On August 9th and 10th, 1969, allegedly displeased with the subsequent panic around the murders, Manson ordered the murders of the fucking supermarket executive Lionel Blanton and his wife Rosemary the following evening in Fresno section of Los Angeles, California, the goal of making it seem like the murders had been perpetrated by the Black Panthers. Oof. Tate murders. On the night of August 8th, 1969, Tex Watson took Suzanne Atkinson, Linda Kasbernen, fuck me, and Patricia to the house where Melcher used to live. Oh, so I think the intended victim may have been Melcher. Okay. As Manson had instructed him to totally destroy everyone in it. That sounds like such a hippie thing to say. Yeah, man, just totally destroy everything in it. And to do it as gruesome as you can. Holy. Manson told the woman to do as Watson instructed them. Okay, here. Patricia was one of the early family members and had met Terry Melcher, son of during his day well-known record producer who had not only worked with Beach Boys but had also the occupants of the house at 150 Kilo Drive that evening were movie actress Sharon Tate, who is 8.5 months pregnant, and the wife of film director Roman Polanski, her friend and former lover Jay Sembering, fuck me, a noted hairstylist, Polanski's friend and aspiring screenwriter, Frykowski's girlfriend Abigail Forling here. Okay, Pelosi in Europe. So, Pelosi was in Europe working on a film project. Music producer word. So he was out of town. Word up. The specific house was chosen because Watson and Manson had been there on at least one other occasion, and the Watsons familiar with the layout. Okay, fair enough. The murder team arrived at the address just past midnight on August 9th, 1969. Watson claimed a telephone pole near the entrance gate and cut the phone line to the house. Okay, so he climbed up the pole and cut the phone line. The murderers backed their car to the bottom of the hill that led to the estate and walked back up to the house. They thought that the gate might be electrified or equipped with an alarm, so they climbed a bush embankment to the right of the gate and entered the grounds. Okay. Headlights approached them from within an angled property, and the Watsons ordered the woman to lie in the bushes. He stepped out and ordered the approaching driver to halt. Stephen Parent had been visiting the property caretaker William Garrison, who lived in the guest home. Watson leveled a .22 caliber revolver at Parents, and the frightened youth begged him not to hurt him, claiming that he would not say anything. Watson's lunged at Parent with a knife, giving him a defensive lash wound on the palm of his hand that severed tendons and tore the boy's watch off his wrist. Oof. Then he shot him 4 times in the chest and abdomen, killing him. Watson ordered the women to help push the car further up the driveway. Watson's next cut, the screen of the window then told Linda to keep watch down by the gate. She walked over to Parent's car and waited. Watson removed the screen and entered through the window, and they all entered through the front door. Once he opened it, he whispered to Susan and awoke Frywosky, who was sleeping on the living room couch. Watson kicked him in the head, and Frywosky asked him who he was and what he was doing there. Watson replied, "I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's business." Holy. Watson's directed. Atkins found the house's 3 other occupants with the help of the other girl and forced them to the living room. Watson began to tie Tate and Steinbring together by the necks with a rope which he had brought, and he slung it over one of the living room ceiling beams. Oof. Okay, Steinberg proceeded to the murderous rough treatment of the pregnant Tate. So Watson shot him. Okay. Folger was taken momentarily back to her bedroom for her purse, and she gave the murderers $70. Watson then stabbed Steinbring 7 times. Okay. They gutted poor Sharon Tate, and the baby was placed at her feet. And I'm pretty sure the baby was killed as well. But yes, and they gutted them all and fucking stabbed them a bunch of times. Like, they fucked them up. They took Manson's alleged orders very seriously. But Frywosky's hands had been bound with a towel, but he freed himself and began struggling with Atkinson, who stabbed at his legs with the knife. He fought his way out the front door and onto the porch, but Watson caught up with him, struck him over the head with the gun multiple times, and stabbed him repeatedly and shot him twice. Kazabinan had heard horrifying sounds and moved towards the house from her position in the driveway. She told Atkinson that someone was coming in an attempt to stop the murders. Okay. Inside the house, Folger escaped from one of the murderers and fled out the bedroom door to the pool area. And one of the girls pursued her and caught her across the lawn, but Watson murdered him with the final flurry of stabbing. Okay. and Frywolski suffered 51 stab wounds and had been struck 13 times in the head with the butt of Watson's gun, which bent the barrel and broke off one side of the gun's grip, which was recovered at the scene. In the house, Tate pled to be allowed to live long enough to give birth, and offered herself as a hostage in an attempt to save the life of her unborn child. But both Akasinks and Watson stabbed Tate 16 times, and Manson had told the women to leave a sign, something witchy, so Akatin wrote "pig" on the front door in Tate's blood. And then there are the Labancan murders. Labianca. Manson took the 4 murderers plus Leslie Van Hout and Steve Clem Grogan for a drive the following night. He was displeased with the panic and flight of the victims in the previous night's murder, and he was taking those 6 followers out to show them how to do it. He considered a number of murders during the next few hours. Riding and attempting one, and then told Casbin to drive the 23301 Waverly Drive. This was the home of supermarket executive Leon and Rosemary Labancie, co-owner of a dress shop located on Los Fresnos section of Los Angeles, next door to a house where the Manson and the family members had attended a party the year previous. According to Atkins and Casbin, Manson disappeared up the driveway and returned to say that he had tied up the house's occupants. He then sent Weston up and Careywinkle and Van Hout. Watson stated in his autobiography that Manson went up alone, then returned to take him up to the house with him. Manson pointed out a sleeping man through a window, and the 2 entered through the unlocked back door. Watson added at the trial that he went along with the woman's account because it made him look much less responsible. As Watson related it, Manson roused the sleeping Leno Blanchett from the couch at gunpoint and had Watson bind his hands with a leather thong. Rosemary is brought into the living room from the bedroom. Watson followed Manson's instructions to cover the couple's heads with pillowcases, which he bound in place with a lamp cord. Manson left, sending Careywinkle and Van Hout into the house with instructions that the couple should be killed. Watson had complained to Manson earlier in the inadequacy of previous night's weapons. He sent the woman for the kitchen to the bedroom where Rosemary Blantz had been returned, while he was on the living room and began stabbing Blantz with a chrome-bladed bayonet. So this is Watson doing the stabbing here. The first thrust went into his throat. Watson heard a scuffle in the bedroom and went in there to discover Rosemary Labancie keeping the woman at bay by swinging the lamp tied to her neck. He stabbed her several times with the bayonet, then returned to the living room and resumed attacking Leno, whom he had stabbed a total of 12 times, when he had carved the word "war" into his abdomen. He then returned to the bedroom and found Carrie stabbing Rosemary with the knife from the kitchen. Okay. Manson had instructed Watson to ensure that each of the women played a part, so he told Van Hout to join in stabbing her. She did, stabbing her approximately 16 times in the back and exposed butt. Oof. Van Hout claimed at trial that Rosemary was dead when she stabbed her. Evidence showed that many of the 41 stab wounds had in fact been inflicted post-mortem. So, after she was dead, Watson then cleaned off the bayonet and showered, while Karen Winkle wrote "Rise" and "Death to Pigs" on the walls and "Helter Skelter" on the refrigerator door, all in the victim's blood. She gave Lenon Blantz 14 puncture wounds with an ivory-handled, two-tinted carving fork, which she left jutting out of his stomach. She also planted a steak knife in his throat. Real fucking brutal, holy shit. I forgot how brutal these murders were. So, while this was going on, Manson drove the other 3 Manson family members who had departed Stefan with him that evening to the Vincent home of an actor. He left them there and drove back to the Stefan ranch, leaving them and the LeBlanc's killers to hitchhike home. Manson wanted his followers to murder the actor in his apartment, but Casbin thwarted this murder by deliberately knocking on the wrong apartment door and waking a stranger. The group abandoned the murder plan and left, but Atkins defecated in the stairwell on the way out. Okay. So those are the murders that they committed. Holy shit. So they obviously found some evidence to point that it was the Manson family. I'm not sure what it is because it doesn't say. But if you guys know, leave it in the comments. Because, the state of California tried Manson for the Tate and Labantier murders, with the co-defendants Leslie Van Hout, Susan Atkins, Patricia Karen Winkle, co-defendant Tex Watson is being tried a later date after the extradition from Texas. Okay. The trial began on July 15th, 1970. Manson appeared wearing a fringed buckskin, his typical clothing from the ranch. Okay, so he just showed up in his normal everyday attire. On July 24th, 1970, the first day of testimony, Manson appeared in court with an X carved into his forehead. His followers issued a statement from Manson saying, "I have X'd myself from your world." Okay. The following day, Manson's co-defendants, Van Houten, Atkins, and Karen Winkle also appeared in court with X's carved into their foreheads. Yes, I'm pretty sure the women acted more wild than the male defendants or whatever. Not including Charles. But yes. And this trial was crazy. It was like one of the most publicized trials back in the day and back in that time in history. But members of the Manson family camped outside the courthouse and held vigils on the street corner because they were excluded from the courtroom for being destructive. Yes, some of the Manson's followers also carved crosses into their heads. During the trial, members of the Manson family appeared in staff-worn robes and threatened to implode themselves if Manson was convicted. Okay. Just as nuns in the Vietnam had done to protest the war. Interesting. Very interesting. So it says here that the state presented dozens of witnesses during the trial. However, the primary witness was Linda Casbin, who was presented during the Tate who was present during the Tate murders. Oh, so someone may have felt guilty and confessed or something. Or they're just saving their own bacon. Probably saving their own bacon. But she was present during the Tate murders on August 8th and 9th in 1969. Caspin provided graphic testimony on the Tate murders, which she observed from outside the house, so I think she was the lookout. She was also in the car with Manson on the following evening when he ordered the Bansier killings. Once again, that is Labianca. Kazabin spent days on the witness stand being cross-examined by the defendant's lawyers. After testifying, Casbin went into hiding for the next 40 years. Holy shite. Okay, in early August 1970, President Richard Nixon told reporters that he believed that Manson was guilty of the murders, either directly or indirectly. Yes, there's no doubt he had a part in the murders. But yes. Manson obtained a copy of the newspaper and held up the headline to the jury. The defendant's attorneys then called for a mistrial, arguing that their client had allegedly killed far fewer people than Nixon's war machine in Vietnam. Judge Charles H. Older polled each member of the jury to determine whether each juror saw the headline and whether it's affected his or her ability to make an independent decision. Yeah, seeing that headline, I think they should have just got a whole new jury. But there again, who didn't know what was going on at this time? But yeah, everybody definitely had their own opinions, and everybody most likely heard of this. But all of the jurors affirmed that they could still decide independently. Shortly after, the female defendants, Atkins and Karen Winkle and Van Hout, were removed from the room for chanting, "Nixon says we are guilty, so why go on?" Okay. On October 5th, 1970, Manson attempted to kill Judge Older while the jury was presenting in the room. Manson first threatened Older and then jumped over his lawyer's table with a sharpened pencil in the direction of the judge. Manson was restrained before reaching the judge. While being led out of the courtroom, Manson screamed at Older, "In the name of Christian justice, somebody should cut your head off." Holy, that doesn't help your fucking case at all. Meanwhile, the female defendants began chanting something in Latin. Judge Older began wearing a .38 caliber pistol to the trial afterwards. Yo, he was ready to catch that body. He's like, let this motherfucker try something one more time. I'm gonna blow him away. Holy. But on November 16th, 1970, the state of California rested its case after presenting 22 weeks worth of evidence. Holy shit. The defendants then stunned the courtroom by announcing that they had no witnesses to present and rested their case. Holy. And then there is Manson's testimony. Immediately after the defendants' counsel rested their case, the three female defendants shouted that they wanted to testify. Their attorneys advised the court in chambers that they opposed their clients testifying. Apparently, the female defendants wanted to testify that Manson had nothing to do with the murders. The following day, Manson himself announced that he too wanted to testify. The judge allowed Manson to testify outside the presence of the jury. Okay. He stated as follows: "These children that come to you with knives, they are your children. You taught them. I didn't teach them. I just tried to help them stand up. Most of the people at the ranch that you call the family were just people that you did not want." Manson continued, "I know this, that is, that in your hearts and souls that you are as much responsible for the Vietnam War as I am for killing these people." So I'm guessing that means Since the judge had no direct responsibility for the war, and pretty much nobody did, neither did Manson have any responsibility for killing the people that he was accused of having a responsibility to killing. But yeah, I can't judge any of you. I have no malice against you and no ribbons for you. But I think that it is high time that you all start looking at yourselves and judging the lie that you live in. Holy. And Manson concluded, "My father is the jailhouse. My father is your system. I am only what you made me. I am only a reflection of you. You want to kill me? Ha! I am ready. I am already dead. Have been all my life. I've spent 23 years in tombs that you have built." Holy, real deep shit right there. Crazy but deep. After Manson finished speaking, Judge Older offered to let him testify before the jury. Manson replied that it was not necessary. Manson then told the female defendants that they no longer needed to testify. On November 30th, 1970, Leslie Van Houten's attorney, Ronald Hughes, failed to appear for the closing argument in the trial. Okay. He was later found dead in California State Park. Holy shit. His body was badly decomposed, and it was impossible to tell the cause of death. Hughes had disagreed with Manson during the trial, taking the position that his client, Van Hout, should not testify to claim that Manson had no involvement with the murders. Some have alleged that Hughes may have been murdered by the Manson family. On January 25th, 1971, the jury found Manson, Karen Winkle, and Atkins guilty of first-degree murder in all 7 of the Tate and LeBlanc killings. The jury found Van Houten guilty of murder in the first degree and the LeBlanc killings. Okay. After the convictions, the court held a separate hearing before the same jury determined if the defendant should receive the death sentence. Each of the 3 female defendants took the stand. They provided graphic detail of the murders, testifying that Manson was not involved. According to the female defendants, they had committed the crimes in order to help fellow Manson family member Bobby Beausoleil get out of jail. Okay. Where he was being held for the murder of Gray Heinemann. The female defendants testified that Tate LeBlanc's murders were incited by the copycat crime similar to Heinemann's killings. Okay. The 3 female defendants claimed they did this under the direction of the state's prime witness, Linda Casbin. Okay. The defendants did not express remorse for the killings. On March 4th, 1971, during the sentence hearing, Manson trimmed his beard to a fork and shaved his head, telling the media, "I am the devil, and the devil always has a bald head." However, the female defendants did not immediately shave their own heads. The state prosecutor, Vincent, later speculated in his book Helter Skelter that they refrained from doing so in order to not appear to be completely controlled by Manson. Okay. As they had when they each carved the X into their foreheads earlier in the trial. Yeah. On March 29th, 1971, the jury sentenced all 4 defendants to death. When the female defendants were led into the courtroom, each of them had shaved their heads, as had Manson. After hearing the sentence, Atkins shouted to the jury, "Better lock your doors and watch your kids." Holy. And the Manson murder trial was the longest murder trial in American history when it occurred, lasting 9.5 months. Holy. The trial was among the most publicized in America. Was the most publicized criminal trial in the 21st century. Yes. It was titled The Trial of This Century. The jury had been sequestered for 225 days, longer than any jury before it. The trial transcripts alone ran 209 volumes or 31,716 pages. Holy shite. So then the death penalty was eventually dismissed and they were sentenced to life. Some of them did get out, Manson did not. I'm not sure which ones did get out. But yes, Manson also did a bunch of interviews, and he is literally the king of interviews. He says some real deep stuff that is also facts, but he's also batshit fucking crazy. But yeah, that's that. Manson was admitted to state prison in Los Angeles County in April 22nd, 1971 for 7 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder for the deaths of for Albagine and Folger Frylowski. Oh, yes, okay, word. For all the deaths that his followers did. Since his initial death sentence was modified to life imprisonment in February 2nd, 1977, yes. On December 13th, 1971, Manson was convicted of first-degree murder in Los Angeles County Court for the July 25th, 1969 death of musician Gary Hyman. He also was convicted of first-degree murder in August 1969 death of Donald Jeremiah Shorty Shea. Following the 1972 decision of okay, fair enough. His first parole hearing took place November 16th, 1978 at California Medical Facility Vacaville, where his petition was rejected. Fair, yeah, makes sense. That's way too soon for parole, but there again, I think it's parole every 5 years or something. I'm not sure. But yes, throughout the years, he's given multiple interviews, which are all on YouTube. I recommend watching them. They are all low-key funny as fuck. Low-key. But, yeah. And then he did eventually die in 2017. And it says here, illness and death. On January 1st, 2017, Manson was suffering from gastrointestinal bleeding at California State Prison in Corcoran when he was rushed to the Mercy Hospital in downtown Bakersfield. A source told the Los Angeles Times that Manson was seriously ill, and TMZ reported that his doctors considered him too weak for surgery. Okay, I just don't think they wanted to pay for the surgery, but you never know. I'm not a doctor. He was returned to the prison on January 6th, and the nature of his treatment was not disclosed. Yeah, because he probably didn't fucking give him any. On November 15th, 2017, an unauthorized source said that Manson had returned to the hospital in Bakersfield. But the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation did not confirm this with the state and federal medical privacy laws. Okay, he died from cardiac arrest resulting from respiratory failure and colon cancer at the hospital on November 19th, 2017. Okay, fair enough. 3 people stated their intentions to claim Manson's estate and body. Manson's grandson, Jason Freeman, stated his intentions to take possessions of Manson's remains and personal effects. Manson's pen pal, Michelle Channels, claimed to have Manson will dated February 14th, 2002. Okay. So she claimed to have a will of Manson's from back then, which Manson left the entire estate and Manson's body to Channels. Manson's friend Ben claimed to have a Manson will dated from January 2017, which gave the estate and Manson's body to Matthew Roberts, another alleged son of Manson. In 2012, CNN ran a DNA match to see if Freeman and Roberts were related to each other and found they were not. According to CNN, 2 prior attempts to DNA match Robert with genetic material from Manson failed, but the results were reportedly contaminated. Okay. On March 12, 2018, Kern County Supreme Court in California decided in favor of Freeman in regards to the Manson's body. Freeman and Manson's cremated had Manson cremated on March 20th, 2018. As of February 7th, 2020, Channels and Freeman still had petitions to California courts attempting to establish their hire of Manson's estate. At that time, Channels was attempting to force Freeman to submit DNA to the court for testing. Okay, there's that. There is that. So, yeah, he is a very famous dude, that Charles Manson. There are a bunch of documentaries. I am counting, there's one in 73, one in 2019, and there are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. 11 documentaries. Holy shite. Fiction inspired by Manson. Holy shit, there is a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So about 23 fictions inspired by Manson. Holy, and you can see all those in the source below, and not to mention the music. But yeah, there is that. What did you think about Manson? What are your thoughts on his case? What are your thoughts? Leave them in the comments below. But yeah, definitely some interesting stuff. Definitely interesting. So that is Charles Manson. Thank you for listening to this episode on the Murder House Radio Show. I hope you have a good rest of your Friday or whenever you are listening to this. Check out the social medias and the sources in the description below. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Once you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification and select all notifications if you are listening on YouTube. If you are listening on a podcasting platform, hit follow. See you next episode. This is your host X, signing off.